Self-employed sponsorship on the skilled worker visa. Is it possible? Well, yes, but only in very limited circumstances. So sometimes, because of the nature of the profession in which you work when sponsored, you are technically self-employed rather than employed. So barristers, for example, are usually self-employed, operating in chambers. The sponsor mechanism for barristers is that the Bar Council, that's the relevant representative body, sponsors them, that is if they're not British, and they do this via the Bar Council. So they're sponsored and self-employed. Now a similar position can exist for dentists and private tutors, for example, who are sponsored but in some cases technically self-employed. So as long as the skilled worker criteria are met, this is capable of being permitted by the Home Office. Now, in all cases, you'll need to show that the job is genuine. In other words, it hasn't been created mainly so that you can apply for entry clearance. Now, what you certainly cannot do is assign a certificate of sponsorship to yourself unless you're on the expansion worker visa, as I explained in my last video. So in this case, for the expansion worker visa, you can assign the certificate of sponsorship to yourself directly. So sponsorship requires you to have a license and appoint a so-called authorizing officer and level 1 user. But as an expansion worker, you can hold those positions and apply for a certificate of sponsorship and assign that certificate to yourself. If you're interested in that visa route, then I have a checklist for you that you can download for free using the link just in the description below and in my pinned comment just below. If you were not applying for the expansion worker visa though, and you attempted to assign the certificate of sponsorship to yourself, then the license would simply be revoked. And the same consequence would follow if you tried to assign a certificate of sponsorship to your wife or husband or your mum or dad, etc. And this is the conflict of interest point that I've talked about in previous videos. Now, when you're assigning a certificate of sponsorship to yourself as an expansion worker visa, that's not self-employed sponsorship. So that's why I want to raise the concept just to distinguish it. So you're not self-employed in this capacity. Rather, at the point that you apply for the license, you would be employed by the overseas parent company rather than self-employed. And even once you get the visa, you would not be self-employed in the UK, you would be employed. Now, as I say, you can download my free visa checklist on the expansion worker visa if you're interested in that, as well as other visas, for example, the innovator visa on which you can be self-employed, although typically you'd have a company. You can do this by clicking on the links in my video description below. Another visa on which you can be self-employed is the Global Talent visa. I've had a lot of success with my clients on that visa route. You can also download my Global Talent Planner on the link below. Also, if you would like to speak with me, then I have a consultation service. As a lawyer, you can book a consultation with me for legal advice. You click on the link in the description or my pinned comment below and just select a time that suits you from my calendar. I'd be pleased to speak with you, and I wish you every success with your visa application. Bye for now.